College basketball fans, welcome back to Beyond the Box Score, where every day we dive deep into the numbers, trends, and hidden angles that give you an edge in the betting markets. Today we're breaking down the best bets for November 26th, but before we jump into the new slate, we have to face the truth about yesterday. Most of these matchups started in our favor. Seriously, it felt like half of them were cruising toward covers, and then everything unraveled late. Except Rutgers, and that game was the complete opposite storyline. They looked miserable for most of the contest and somehow backdoor covered at +6.5. I'll take that kind of gift any day. Everything besides Michigan State, bad. No way around it. Let's recap yesterday's slate quickly so we can get into today's picks. We actually started solid at 2-1 across the early games with Bethune, Michigan State, and Rutgers. The first game of the day was Michigan State, where we took Sparty at -22 on a neutral court against East Carolina. And honestly, AQ continues to prove they might be the weakest team in DI basketball. Michigan State rolled 89-56. East Carolina shot an ugly 33% from the field and 6% from deep. Yes, 6%. They got destroyed on the glass, losing the offensive rebounding battle 12-3. The turnover margin was a nightmare too, 24-11. They actually had 8 more turnovers than made baskets. That's unbelievable at the college level. I'm being dead serious when I say this team might not win a single game in American Conference play. They're that bad. The next game was Rutgers at +6.5. At one point, they were buried, down nearly 20. Notre Dame's largest lead was 19 points, and Rutgers looked cooked. But it was one of those chaotic finishes where everything that needed to go wrong for Notre Dame went wrong. They missed back-to-back front ends of 1-and-1s, then couldn't inbound the ball and got hit with a 5-second violation, and then completely collapsed defensively as Rutgers kept scoring. Perfect storm for a backdoor. They lose 68-63, and we cash the ticket. I'll take those any day. Now onto the nonsense, the losers. First up was Bethune-Cookman at -2.5. They had the game in their hands at halftime with an 11-point lead, 30-19, and then completely imploded in the second half, losing 61-54. It's almost impressive how thoroughly they threw this away. They shot 30% from the field, 17% from deep, and only 62% from the free throw line. And what makes it infuriating is they won both key categories, the offensive rebound battle 20-10, and the turnover battle 11-4. When you rebound better and turn the ball over less, you should be positioned to win. But if you can't, hit the broadside of a barn, as the old saying goes, you get what happened here. Brutal. Next was Vermont at +5.5, and this was a complete mismatch in the paint. Rhode Island dominated them physically, winning the rebounding battle 39-25 and the turnover battle 11-4. Rhode Island shot 48% from the field while Vermont hit 42%, 30% from deep, and 70% from the line. They ended up losing by 15. Vermont has some size, but none of it mattered here. They got pushed around for 40 straight minutes. Rough tournament for them. They lost to Liberty, then Rhode Island, and now they're stuck playing Princeton next. Doesn't feel promising. Then came Drexel at -7.5 on the road at Morgan State. This was another one where the cover was right there. They were up for a good chunk of the game but ended up winning by only 5. Shooting killed them. They were 42% from the field but just 27% from deep. They won the rebounding battle by 14, but turnovers absolutely crushed them. They lost the turnover battle 15-7. When you shoot poorly from 3, and give the ball away 8 more times than your opponent, covering a big number becomes a long shot. Then we had Houston Christian at -2.5 against Bellarmine. The final score was 74-69, and they lost by 5. Another frustrating one because Houston Christian won the offensive rebound battle 11-1 and still didn't convert that into a victory. But the reason is painfully obvious. They shot 38% from the free throw line. Yes, 38%. They went 9 of 24 from the line. I couldn't believe it until I saw the stat line myself. They shot 49% from the field but somehow were incapable of making free throws. Imagine if they went even a normal 17 of 24, they easily cover the number. Just unbelievable. The last of the losers was UCF -13. They were down 5 at halftime but stormed back to take a 19-point lead with 2 minutes left. And then, in classic fashion, they let Quinnipiac close the game on an 11-2 run. UCF still won 102-91, but we needed 13, and they won by 11. Another near miss. And that's how the day ended at 2-5. Rough run. Now let's get into the picks for tomorrow, starting with Lipscomb on the road against Marshall. I'm taking the Thundering Herd at home at -6.5. Marshall typically draws a strong home crowd, especially on Thanksgiving Eve when there's not much else happening in Huntington. Lipscomb has been a disaster on the road this season, 0-4 away from Nashville and 2-4 overall. Their only wins have come against a Division II school in Western Carolina by 21. Meanwhile their losses have been ugly. Vanderbilt by 44, Mercer by 15, UNCA Asheville by 5, Belmont by 7. They return just 2 starters from last season and lack the type of athleticism you need to win road games. Watch them once and it's obvious. They don't defend. They don't have real playmakers, and they're not built for high-level competition. Marshall, on the other hand, is 5-1, undefeated at home, and their only loss was to Virginia by 26, which honestly isn't even that bad because Virginia looks sharp. Marshall shoots 48% from the field and 40% from deep. They're an older, mature team and my pick is Marshall at -6.5. Next pick is Mercer at -5.5 against Appalachian State. Appalachian State was abysmal last game. They scored only 51 points at home against Elon and looked like one of the worst teams in college basketball. They're 4-3 this year, 1-2 on the road, shooting 43% from the field, 30% from deep, and 61% from the free throw line. They've lost to every halfway decent team they've faced. Mercer is 3-2, undefeated at home, and their wins include a Division II school by 39, Lipscomb by 15, and EKU by 12. Their losses were on the road, Tennessee by 15, which is forgivable, and then a blowout against Winthrop by about 40. Mercer returns 1 starter and brings in several transfers from high major programs like Boston College and Memphis. They're big in the paint, physical, and I don't see how App State handles that matchup. I think Mercer wins by double digits. So give me Mercer at -5.5. Moving on to Bucknell at +3.5. This is Game 2 of the Fort Myers tip-off. Buffalo is 6-0. Possibly their best start ever, but there's a big warning sign under the hood. They have depth issues, running only a 7-man rotation, and if foul trouble hits, they're relying on true freshmen. Buffalo beat VMI 78-70 in the first round but lost the rebounding and turnover battles. VMI just couldn't hit water from a boat. Buffalo returns 2 starters, adds a Wisconsin transfer who's been incredible, and another guy from Longwood. They have size, but again, depth matters in these neutral site tournaments. Bucknell is 2-5, but realistically 2-3 outside the bye games. They've beaten Delaware by 8 and Mount St. Mary's by 11, and their losses to Princeton by 10, Hofstra by 6, and Bowling Green by 5 show they're competitive. And their roster is hilarious. They start 3 European bigs from Slovenia, Germany, and Switzerland, paired with 2 guards from the Bronx. It's like a EuroLeague Bronx fusion lineup, and it weirdly works. I think Bucknell is the better roster and Buffalo is overvalued because of the undefeated record. Buffalo is 6-0, but this is their first real road test. Give me Bucknell plus 3.5. Now for my favorite bet of the day. Vanderbilt at minus 18.5 and the over 167.5. This is the first game in the Bahamas for both teams, and Vanderbilt has looked excellent. I'm not calling them top tier in the SEC, but top 5 or 6. Absolutely. They're 5-0 with home wins over mid-majors and a massive 105-93 road win over UCF. They average 103 points per game while shooting 53% from the field and making over 13 threes a night. That's elite efficiency. They start 4 seniors and a sophomore who might be their best scorer. Meanwhile, Western Kentucky is 4-0 but hasn't played anyone meaningful, and this is their first road trip outside Kentucky. They've beaten Tennessee Tech by 12, Eastern Kentucky by 8, Tennessee State by 13, and a Division II school by 30. They're small at most positions and lack athleticism. Their only chance is to shoot lights out from deep, but that's unlikely against a disciplined Vanderbilt squad. Give me Vandy to cover and the over. Next up is Miami, Ohio at the spread. I can't find a current line yet, but this game is part of the Jacksonville Classic. UNC Greensboro just lost to Delaware by 13 and is 1-6 overall. Miami, Ohio is 5-0, hasn't played since Saturday, and they return 4 starters except their old point guard who transferred to Wofford. They're big at every position, they shoot well, and they're rested. UNC Greensboro is tiny in the backcourt, with both guards listed under 6 feet, and that's not going to fly against Miami, Ohio's size. I assume Miami, Ohio will be laying somewhere around 6.5 or maybe 7.5 at a neutral site, and I'll take them regardless. Then we go to North Dakota State at minus 115 on the money line against Jacksonville State. This neutral site game is part of the Arkansas State Invitational. North Dakota State has the better roster and the better coach. Fans aren't traveling for this the day before Thanksgiving, so the environment will be empty. North Dakota State is 4-2, with 2 early losses to Oregon State by 2 and UC Davis by 12, but they've rebounded with wins over Cal State Northridge by 22, Southern Illinois by 7, and 2 Division II schools. They're a veteran squad shooting 46% from the field and 80% from the free throw line. The only concern is the turnovers. They give it away more than 10 times a game, around 14 actually, and they don't have much center depth behind their main big. But Jacksonville State is 3-2 with 2 wins over Division II opponents, returns 0 starters, and starts 2 underclassmen including a true freshman. They're still figuring out their identity. North Dakota State should win, so give me the money line at minus 115. Last official bet is Colorado State plus 3.5 and the over 152. This Bahamas matchup features 2 bubble-level teams with tournament hopes. Colorado State is 4-1, coming off a heartbreaking 83-81 home loss to Denver. Before that, they beat Incarnate Word by 34, Omaha by 23, Cal Poly by 14, and Loyola Chicago by 13. They're insanely efficient, 51% from the field, 45% from deep, and they're coached by Ali Farakmanesh, the former Northern Iowa hero who hit that iconic March Madness upset shot. Virginia Tech is 5-0 but hasn't played anyone except Providence, who isn't even that strong this year. They beat Providence 107-101 in overtime. Virginia Tech has only 1 returning starter but added some strong transfers including a European monster named Abdullahs and seniors from UNLV and VCU. This is their first road test of the year, and while the Bahamas isn't exactly home for Colorado State either, I think the Rams bounce back. I believe the spread should be a pick'em, so I'll take Colorado State plus 3.5 and the over 152. To wrap things up, here are the almost bets. Air Force at plus 4.5 at home against Northern Colorado. They aren't good, but they're not as bad as the books are making them. Harvard at plus 6.5 against Boston College tempted me too. I hate betting Ivy League teams, but Boston College is atrocious. And Northern Kentucky at minus 4.5 against Wofford was also close. Wofford is terrible away from home, and Northern Kentucky has strong home support. That does it for today's breakdown. Hopefully we bounce back from yesterday's rough run and get right back into the win column. If you found value in this analysis, remember to subscribe to Beyond the Box Score, where we break down every game with data-backed insight, sharp betting angles, and honest results every single day. Appreciate you tuning in, and I'll catch you in the next video. Thank you.